I got a 2014 Toyota Tundra. I'm doing front rotors, front pads, and rear pads on the rear brakes. Front rotors are warped, causing a shakiness in the steering wheel when you're slowing down. So let's go ahead and get the caliper off. Got to get the brake line over here taken off so I can have some free play in this, and then hang the caliper up and then get the rotor off. All right, so got the caliper unbolted from the bracket over here, so it's just hanging up there, and then I got the rotor off. So now just gonna make sure the parts match. New rotor, old rotor. Gonna go ahead and wipe them down and then put them on, and then I'll put the new pads on after I got the new rotor and the brake caliper back on. All right, now that I got the new rotor on, time to replace the brake pads and the caliper. This is called a fixed caliper design, not a floating caliper. This is more like Brembo brake, stuff like that. So you're gonna have 2 pads on each side, 4 pistons. You're also gonna have some clips and a couple pins to hold the brake pads in there. So this is the caliper depressor tool for this style of fixed caliper. So you just put both sides in there and then you just squeeze it down. So I already did that, collapsed all the and just pulls right out like that. So now that the pistons are all collapsed, I can put the new pads in and go ahead and put the caliper back on. Okay, so got the new disc on, got the caliper back bolted on, and right in here on where the pads slide, you're gonna wanna grab a wire brush and just clean out in here where the pads slide on so they aren't getting all caught up and hung up on the gunk that builds up in there. And then take a little compressed air and blow it out. Okay, so now that those are all blown out, I'm gonna take some Brembo brake grease, and I'm gonna put some on the edges right here on the actual pads themselves, so they can slide smoothly. And then I'm also gonna clean up these pins and put new clip hardware on them. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and clean up these pins. So all I did was put it in a drill. I got this handy little bolt cleaner, and all you do is just stick it in here. Take it there, grab a rag, clean it off. Got all the gunk built up off of it. Before, after, a lot cleaner. All nice and clean. Okay, so now I got the new pads in, greased up, got the cleaned pins in, got all the clip hardware in there and there. Everything's good. The caliper bolts are torqued down. So that's how you do front brakes on a 14 Tundra. I imagine it's probably the same across the board in all Tundras. They most likely haven't changed their design because they haven't changed much of their design in their Tundras for a long time. So I'm gonna do the other side and then I'll catch you guys on the rears. Okay, so I got the wheel off, onto the rear brakes now. This is a floating style caliper, so just take the 2 bolts off there, and we're just doing pads, so it's gonna be pads and the clips, and put it back together. Pretty easy. All right, so to compress the rear floating calipers, or any floating caliper type, you can use this, or they make another style for the single piston, but I've always just used this. What you do is kind of just press it in slowly. And you also want to make sure that when you do this, you make sure your brake fluid reservoir doesn't overflow out of the reservoir, because that's a big mess and that's annoying to clean. And not to mention, brake fluid likes to eat through things. So before you do any brake work, make sure you suck all the fluid, or not all the fluid, but a good amount of fluid out of the reservoir, and then, yeah, so you don't get any messes or any spills. So I'm gonna compress this, put the pads on, and then go test drive it. Little pit stop for Mr. Javi. Come on, look at. Damn, dude. All right, so got all the wheels back on, everything torqued, all the brakes done, front and rear, new front rotors. Customer's concern was shaking when braking. Now that is fixed. So just gonna brake in the new brakes, a couple hard stops. Keep driving around. And yeah, all I gotta do to brake in brakes is don't ride them, do hard stops so they fully seat, and that's where your goal is. So I'm gonna drive this for 10-ish miles, and then yeah, be done. Do a quick torque check on the wheels, make sure everything's solid. But other than that, that's how you do brakes on a Tundra. And this is a 2014, so I imagine it's probably the same for all Tundras. Thanks for watching, guys, and on to the next video.